Holy cow! Welcome to Donnie's Hangout Adventures. And what, little Roberta and just a cow? What am I going to be talking about? Jobs. Yes. That sounds like a good topic to discuss. And you know, something I've noticed. I remember when I was looking for jobs in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was actually a little easier to get job interviews. It was actually a little bit easier to get hired. Has anybody noticed this? I really have. Because you go on to their websites or whatever you'd want to do, and they don't tend to get back with you. And I love places that go, well, places are hiring. Are they? Because they never really tend to get back with you. Hey, I remember here a few months ago, McDonald's has a thing on their sign, and they still have it there. They haven't removed it. And that was of last week. They had a thing on there that says, now hiring for mornings. This was over 6 months ago. They put this on their fucking sign. So I filled out an application. They never got back to me. So I called them and they said they were going to do a background check. McDonald's don't do background checks. Look at some of the people they hire. They do not do background checks. Oh, good Lord.
Even if they do, there's nothing bad in your background.
Yeah, even if there was, my background's squeaky clean. There's nothing there to even find. You know, I'm going to try to not get too racist with this, but there's things I've noticed. There's things I've noticed with the climate in 2024 or even 2023 when I started this endless search, which I'm still going on, by the way, that I've noticed in this current climate that, oh God, it's going to sound a little racist. Is there any way around this without sounding racist? What? No, I guess there isn't. Let's say 3 people go for the same job. Let's say 3 people go for the same job. White guy, African American, black, what do you prefer? I'll say black. And Mexican. People go for the job. Who's probably going to get the job first? Well, more than likely the Mexican. Especially if they're an illegal immigrant, because they might get a little bit of a pay cut. And then maybe the second one, the black, because they don't hire them. They can, yell discrimination. And then the white person, they're pretty much out. I know this sounds really racist, but it's really not. This is the climate that we're in, especially in 2023, and probably longer than that, probably going back to 2020 or even before. So it's the climate that we're actually in right now. And let's say a 4th person. Let's say a 4th person applies for the same job. You're wondering, what would the 4th person be? Let's say it's an ex-convict that was busted for meth, spent a few years in prison, they get paroled, and they go to the halfway house out here at Ottumwa, it's out there by the airport. Let's say that they're there and they go apply for a job. They will get hired with no questions asked.
What?
No questions asked.
We know why.
Why is that? You're wondering if I'm making this up, right?
Nope.
No, I'm not. No, they're not. Because, and I quote, here's why. States may provide tax credit incentives as well, especially here in Iowa. For example, business owners can deduct. Make sure you're not drinking anything and make sure you're sitting down when I say this because this is a lot of freaking money. They can deduct as much as $20,000. You heard that right.
Per
20,000. That's per ex-convict they hire. They can get as much as 20,000 in taxes if they hire anybody with a felony conviction. No matter what the felony conviction is, it could be anything from robbing a liquor store. It could literally be somebody setting somebody on fire. Doesn't matter. For each person they hire with a felony conviction, they get as much as $20,000. Oh my good Lord. This is why in this current climate that we live in, that's why if you're not an illegal Mexican, if you're not black, if you're not a former convict or anything of that nature, that's why it's so hard to get a job. And I'm not even discussing the other big elephant in the room, the transgenders. Oh yeah, I'm not even discussing that one. They have to give them a job, and if they fire them, they can yell discrimination too. This is why it's so much harder nowadays than it was maybe your parents' age. You know, back in the 60s, 50s, 60s. That's why it was so much easier back then to get a job. I remember a lot of older people said that they would go out looking for a job. They would go in, walk into a place, fill out an application. A couple of days later, they'd get a call. It was so much easier. It was so much easier. I remember back in the 90s, I filled out an application for Reeves Janitorial. Walked in, filled out the application. Boss called me the next day. Had an interview. He goes, "Can you start today?" I'm like, "Yeah." I was hired, just like that. Times have completely changed. And because of this climate change, because of the climate we're in, it's really more difficult now than any point in history to get any kind of a job. And the scary part is this. It's only going to get rougher. It's only going to get more tougher to get jobs, especially with future generations. And I remember it was like, well, you got to graduate from high school to get a job. Do you? I don't think you do. I really don't think you do. Have you seen some of the dumb people that work at McDonald's and Burger King and different places like this and Arby's? I don't even know how they can get by because they don't even know what they can't even count to a quarter, let alone try. I mean, they have no idea what they're doing. They are so brain dead that it's amazing they can even put on their pants in the morning, let alone. I mean, this climate change that we're in, and I've been trying to get a job with very little success. Same way with my wife. And she has experience. Unlike me, I don't have experience, but it's beside the point. It's beside the point that because of the climate change that we're in, it's really, really hard to get a job because of shit like this.
Especially if you don't have open availability.
Yep, that too.
They'll cater to the ones like you mentioned, though.
Yep, and especially with shit like this. So if you have a place, let's say they have like 50 employees or 50 people working for that company, and they hire 6 of these people, and they get $20,000 for each one that they hire. I swear, I mean, I'll be on the bus, and those halfway house people have a job just like that, with no questions asked. I've seen them. They've worked at Arby's. They got a bunch. I mean, a bunch that work down at JBS. I mean, a bunch of them. I can't count how many halfway house people I've seen that gets off down at JBS. So there's a bunch of those. And they are ex-convicts. They are ex-convicts no matter what their felony is. I'm not even sure if they do an interview with them. I think they might hire them sight unseen. I really do believe that. I believe they just go, okay, were they in prison? Yep, okay, hired.
All they gotta do is pass the drug test and physical.
That's pretty much all you gotta do, JBS, is pass the drug test and the physical, and you're hired. That's pretty much all you gotta do. I don't want to go to JBS.
It's long hours. I tried, but
It's like
too long of hours.
12, 14 hours
I
work
would have had
days,
to walk home at like 2 in the morning. That's
which
dangerous.
wouldn't be fun. But my wife sent me this yesterday when I was trying to do work-related stuff, trying to get hired, and I seen this and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I could not believe that it is the time the time that we live in, that it's more important to businesses if you have a felony than if you don't, because it's actually a question they ask on job applications now. Yeah, okay, but they can't ask you. They can't ask the other questions like what religion are you? Are you married? And what color is your hair? And all that. But it's okay to ask you if you're a convict.
That way they can screen you out since they're not gonna get 20,000.
It doesn't even make sense. And I don't even think. I do think that they don't really look. Bosses don't really look at job applications as much as they used to. They only look at people that have a felony because they get this great big pay cut. It was like during COVID. It was like during COVID, hospitals knew, okay, if this person dies from COVID, and we write that down, whether they have COVID, you know what? I better not discuss that because that could be misinformation on YouTube, so I won't even discuss that. I have discussed that on my Rumble video, so I won't even bring that up. Never mind. Moving on. Me and Mom are saying that's all for now.
That's all for now.